Hello everyone, welcome to the channel Top Gate. In this video, we'll see the conversion of Mealy machine to an equivalent Mealy machine. So this is the transition table of the Mealy machine, and this is the transition diagram of the same Mealy machine, and this has to be converted to an equivalent Mealy machine. So we have two methods in this one. The first method is directly using the transition table. So here we have the transition table of the Mealy machine. So directly we'll convert into the transition table of the Mealy machine. And the second method is, here we have the transition diagram of the Mealy machine, and directly from this transition diagram only we'll make the transition diagram of the Mealy machine. Clear? So the first method is using the transition table. So this is the transition table of the Mealy machine, and this has to be converted to an equivalent Mealy machine. So here I have made the table for the Mealy machine. Here you can see that in this Mealy machine, we have only a single output, and that output is associated with the state. Like 0 is associated with Q0, 1 is associated with Q1, and so on. But in the case of the Mealy machine, we have two outputs. We have outputs for each of the input alphabets. We have two input alphabets here, 0 and 1. So for every input alphabet, we will be having a output. Clear? So the conversion of this Mealy machine to an equivalent Mealy machine is quite simple. We just have to follow the simple steps, and we can easily make the transition table for the Mealy machine. Now let's see what we'll do first. Whatever we have here, we'll just copy everything here as it is. Only the output I'll leave as it is, and then we'll fill it afterwards. But initially we'll fill everything as it is. Like we have initial state Q0, so I'll just write Q0 here, and then for 0 we have Q3, for 1 we have Q1, so I'll just simply copy as it is. Next is Q1, for 0 it is Q1, for 1 it is Q2. Now for Q2, for 0 we have Q2, and for 1 we have Q3, and for Q3, for 0 we have Q3, and for 1 we have Q0. So this we have filled just seeing the states into the Mealy table. Now let's see about the output. Now for Q3, like we have this for input 0 we have Q3, but the output is not here. So what we'll do, we'll take this Q3, we'll come here, and with Q3 I'll see what is the output associated. So with Q3, 0 is associated. So what I'll do, I'll simply write 0 here. Clear? Now next one is Q1. So I'll take this Q1 and come here and see what is associated with Q1. So for Q1 we have 1 as the output. So I'll simply write 1 here. Clear? Now next one is Q2. So for Q2 I'll just search Q2 here. So for Q2 we have 0 here. So I'll just simply write 0 here. Next one is Q3. So I'll take this Q3, come here. With Q3, 0 is there. So I'll just simply write 0 here. Similarly, for Q1, again I'll come here. For Q1 we have 1 here, so I'll write 1 here. Then for Q2 we have 0, so I'll just simply write 0 here. Then for Q3 we have 0 here, so I'll just simply write 0 here. And for Q0 we have 0 here, so I'll just simply write 0 here. So this is the equivalent transition table for the Mealy machine. This is the transition table for the Mealy machine, and this is the transition table of the Mealy machine. So see how simple this one is. Clear? Okay, now move on to the second method. Second method is directly converting from the transition diagram. So this is the transition diagram for the Mealy machine, and for this diagram I'll convert it into an equivalent transition diagram of the Mealy machine. So first of all, what I'll do, I'll simply copy all the states as it is. So we have Q0 here, that is my initial state. Then we have Q1, then we have Q2, and then we have Q3. So I have just copied all the states as it is. 4 states are there in the Mealy machine, 4 states are there in the Mealy machine also. Now see, what will I do? For Q0, with input alphabet 0, it is moving on to state Q3. So I'll just simply mark this as 0. But we know that in the Mealy machine, we have the transition as input by output. So what I'll do, I have to place one output here. So this 0 is the input, and this is the output I have to see. Now what I'll do, from Q0 with 0, I'm moving on to state Q3. And with Q3, the output 0 is associated. So this 0 will actually come here. Clear? So we'll take this 0 of the receiving state only. So receiving state is Q3. So whatever is associated with Q3, that will come here as an output for this 0 input alphabet. Clear? Okay, so for Q0, 0 is done. Now for Q0, 1 input. So for Q0 with 1, I am moving on to state Q1. So I'll just simply mark this with 1, and the output will be the output of the receiving state, that is Q1. So for Q1 we have 1 here, so I'll just simply write 1 here. Clear? So now Q0 is complete. Move on to Q1. So for Q1 with input alphabet 0, it's a self state, so I'll just write 0, and then the receiving is Q1 only. With Q1, 1 is associated, therefore I'll write 0 by 1, 0 input and 1 output. Clear? Now for Q1, 1. For Q1, 1, we are moving on to state Q2. So I'll just simply connect Q1 with Q2 with 1 input alphabet, and the output will be the receiving state's output. So receiving state is Q2. So for Q2 we have 0 associated. So I'll just simply write 0 here. Clear? Now Q1 is complete. Let's move on to state Q2. For Q2 with 0, I have a self loop. So I'll just simply make a self loop and write 0 here. Okay. Now for the output part, what will I do? I'll see the output of the receiving state. Receiving state is Q2 only, and the output is 0. So I'll just simply write 0 here. Clear? Now for Q2, 1. For Q2, 1, we are moving on to state Q3. So I'll just simply connect this Q2 to Q3 with input alphabet 1, and the output will be the output of the receiving state. Receiving state here is Q3 and the output is 0. So I'll just simply write 0 here. So now Q2 you can see is complete, 0 and 1. Clear? Now let's move on to state Q3. Now for Q3 with input alphabet 0, it's a self loop. So I'll just mark a self loop here, that is 0. And the output will be the output of the receiving state. Receiving state here is Q3 only. Output is 0. Therefore, I'll write 0 here. Now for 1. For 1, you can see from Q3 with 1, I'm moving on to state Q0. So I'll just simply connect this Q3 with Q0 with input alphabet 1, and the output will be the output of the receiving state. So receiving state is Q0 and the output is 0. So I'll just simply write 0 here. So this is my equivalent transition diagram of the Mealy machine. Clear? So these are the two methods of converting the Moore machine to an equivalent Mealy machine. First one is using the transition table. Second one is using the transition diagram. And once you have made the transition diagram, it's very easy for you to convert it into an equivalent transition table. And once you have made the transition table, you can convert it into a transition diagram that we have already seen in the previous videos. So I hope this one is clear to you now. Thank you so much.